everyone, Marie here. This is my fourth weekly wrap up for May, and it's coming a little late. The kids had a long weekend and I don't normally film when they're home. So I have 7 items that I read this week. The majority of those were audiobooks that I listened to. I had a bit of a slumpishy week. I mean, I did get a lot read by listening, but as for picking up a physical book, that was a little struggling. So the first thing that I read this week was Romero and Juliet, a tragic tale of love and zombies. This was by Warren Fielding. I'm not going to say too much about this book other than the fact that it is the Romeo and Juliet story. It follows pretty true to the Romeo and Juliet story. It's not done in play format. It's done in a storytelling format. I received this as an art copy from the author. So, like I said, it was the Romeo and Juliet story plus zombies. So if you like Romeo and Juliet, and you like zombies, then you're probably going to like this one. There wasn't anything fantastic about it. It was just a really nice, fast read that involved Romeo and Juliet and zombies. The next thing I listened to was The Sin Eater by Melinda Salisbury. When I first started listening to it, it was a little slow for my taste. The second half of the audiobook, though, really picked up, and that's when I started enjoying it. I gave this rating about a middle of the road. Twila is a goddess embodied, and she kills people by just touching them. She's engaged to the prince, and she's pretty much just locked away in a room all the time because she can't be around other people. She ends up getting a new guard, and romance burns between the two. I'm not really sure what to say without ruining it. The prince, apparently his royal blood allows him to be able to touch her, except for the fact that he doesn't really go anywhere near her till towards the end, the middle-ish, I think, when it started to pick up. The premise, I really liked the premise of the story. The fact that, here you have this girl and her mission is to kill people. She is an executor for the queen, and the queen uses her to kill people that are doing wrong. That seemed like a pretty good premise. I will probably read the next book because now I want to see where the story goes. Like I said, it picked up a little bit there in the last half, enough for me to continue on with the story. The next thing I listened to, which was another art copy from the author, which was Devils in the Dark by Marcus Damanda. Damanda? I could be pronouncing that wrong. I really enjoyed listening to this story. This is about a young girl who is being bullied online, and you jump right in it. So Audrey is being bullied by a bunch of her classmates online, and she ends up slitting her wrists. They all see this. She sends them pictures, I guess, as she's doing it. One of these people that are bullying her is her ex-best friend, who ends up calling 911, and Audrey ends up going to the hospital, a psychiatric hospital. And the rest of the story you follow through with Audrey in the hospital and the consequences from what her classmates did. I listened to the audio, so the audio was a little slow for the narrator voice. For the voices of the characters was okay, but the narrator voice, I would say you'd have to speed it up some because it sounded like I should have been in a meditation workshop. The story itself was fantastic. It really got you thinking about cyberbullying and about what goes on even in the heads of the people that are doing the cyberbullying. The thing with this is that there's a twist at the end of an ancient evil. There's this ancient evil that goes after those that prey on the weak. I got confused there. I don't know if I missed something. I don't know. But there is a book 2 to this, and I am looking forward to reading that book just to see where this ancient Egypt evil comes in, because it was something that was brought in the end of the book. The next 2 things I listened to, which were also art copies from the author, these were short stories, one called The Express and the other called The Aparting, both by R.K. Howard. And I enjoyed both of them. They're both dark and creepy. The first one, The Express, is about a guy on a bus. He's on the bus. He describes all the people on the bus. This is a daily routine for him. The bus crashes and you're in his head. You know, he's describing the things that are going on, what is in his mind, what is the situation. It's not gory, but it does leave you thinking. And then you follow him into the afterlife. And that's all I want to say there. But it's, yeah, it was pretty interesting. The second one is The Aparting, and that was about a young boy, teenager, I guess, being kidnapped. This was being in the head of a psychopath. When it first starts, I get the impression that this young kid is autistic or a bad case of OCD. He's kidnapped. During his time being a kidnapped, that's when his psychopathness comes out. I don't want to say how, because I think that was the big twist of wow, but you're inside his head the entire time. The only problem with this was the narration, and most of it was okay other than when you get to the part where he goes psychopathy. I think the narrator could have been a little more creepier to get you involved, but other than that, it was still a pretty good story. Then the next thing I listened to was The Lightning Thief by Riordan. I'm not going to say too much about this. This is the Percy Jackson. I've been avoiding this. I wanted to read the later ones. I figured I'd start here and I would just listen to them. I watched the movie. I actually enjoyed the movie probably better than the book for this one, but I think it maybe laid a little bit of foundation. Not a lot of growth. It was just, here's your story. If I was a middle grader, I probably would have enjoyed this. My sons enjoyed it a few years ago when they read it. It's not that I didn't enjoy it, it was just nothing fancy for me. And the last thing I read was UnSlut by Emily Lindin. And I got some glare going on here. UnSlut is just a book of Emily Lindin's diary entries from when she was in middle school. And when I first started, it was like, okay, this is great. This was a pretty good read. Towards the end of it, I mean, it took me a really long time to read this book. I struggled. I only picked it up, read a few diary entries, put it back down, picked it up, read a few diary entries. And I think that's probably the way you have to do it, because you cannot sit down and listen to or read the entire book in one setting, because it's just too much kid drama. And the worst part is that, like, this was probably 5 years younger than I am. So I can relate to a lot of this. I mean, don't get me wrong, I enjoyed it. It really got me thinking about my own past and about how I was and my friends were. But I think it really could have been more. Emily Lindin puts a little bit of side notes in, but most of the time they didn't bring anything to the book. I was hoping for more from it. So that's everything I read this week. I'm sorry that I kind of rushed through it. I didn't want to make this a huge, long video, and it's longer than what I wanted to. I've been a little MIA lately with this just one weekly video, so I'm hoping to get back on track here soon and pop out a lot more videos and a lot more different things than just my weekly wrap-ups. I'm thinking maybe even doing a wrap-up after every so many books like most people do, or a few people do, because even then, sometimes I can read 5 or 6 books in a week, depending on if they're audiobooks or how big they are. So I'm hoping that maybe I'll do it that way instead. Then I wouldn't have so many books at once to do. If that even made sense. Until my next video, happy reading. Bye.